you have to be extremely disciplined with yourself and not chase the dragon. We were kind of chasing the dragon early on and then realized, that's not how you grow a business.
Fire a client once a year. Like, find the oddball that doesn't fit into the niche. Find the one that's not paying you enough. You've gone upstream. Every year you should be going upstream. And so who's the little fish? Get rid of them.
My hair is standing up on my arm saying vendor. I just really dislike it because it just feels like you're a tool. We have built a process where we really do call ourselves a development partner that's no different than an architect or anybody that's going to be at the table in that capacity.
If you speak frankly about this is what it's going to cost, this is what we're going to deliver, this is the results you can expect to get, here's how we lead the relationship, like account management style, everybody wins because they know from the door that's not a good fit. Welcome to Agency Bytes. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I help agency owners turn their agency into an asset they can grow, sell, or actually enjoy. This week on Agency Bytes, I am joined by my friend, former client, and co-founder of Dean & Co., Matt Dean, the one and only. Since launching in 2021, Matt and his wife, Jackie, have built one of the most in-demand branding studios in commercial real estate work. They've got work on projects like Gasworks, Silo Park, and Austin's 2nd Street District. They now span 17 states with a team of 15. They've stayed laser focused on the vision, values, and ideal that got them here, and I am pumped to have you, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the show. I was trying to rattle my brain like how the heck we ever first connected, and the brain doesn't go that far back, so I'm not too sure about that, but I know that it's been an honor to see what you and Jackie have done with Dean & Co. over the past few years. Give kind of your backstory, the college sweetheart jam and launching the agency and all that.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take it back there. So both Jackie and I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and that's where we met. I played lacrosse there. She played softball. We both studied graphic design, had a lot of mutual friends, and ended up meeting. In typical SAP story, as soon as I saw her, kind of knew she was the one. And then we immediately, started dating and eventually, graduated. Jackie went into marketing, advertising, and event promotion, working for big traditional advertising agencies. I left and ended up going to boutique branding agencies where I started to focus a lot on strategy. And that's where I got the bug for seeing creative services are not just making really cool things. They actually impact businesses, and you can help entrepreneurs and business owners grow through the creative process. And so that really sparked my interest. I then was looking for a new opportunity and saw the world of commercial real estate, which, you go to SCAD art school, no one talks about commercial real estate. But while I was there, I took too many architecture electives. So it was kind of this thing that I didn't know I loved, but it kind of merged with what I really did love. And so I saw a position in commercial real estate and looked around at the industry. There's a lot of money and there's a lot of really bad design, branding, marketing out there. And so I took a leap of faith, jumped in, and basically started learning everything I possibly could. In the meantime, in the background, Jackie and I, we had freelanced on projects together with clients. We were always working together. I was interning at all the agencies she was at. So we had always been kind of a team. And so my goal was always to own my own agency by 30. I set that goal when I was 19 at SCAD, actually. And so commercial real estate just kind of happened, and I dove in, learned everything possible about it, fell in love with the built environment, what it could do for people and for communities and for cities. And so fast forward to 2021, Jackie was working for traditional ad agency CEOs. I'm not going to go into that, but I think everyone can pick up what I'm throwing down there. It was just kind of in a bad spot on that side, and I was ready to start my own agency. And so we basically said, hey, you've got the advertising and marketing background, I've got the brand and commercial real estate. Let's join forces, open up shop, and see if we can do this thing. And so that was November of 2021. We've been working together ever since, full time, growing the agency. As you said, we're now at 15, 16 people, working across 17, hopefully a couple new states this year, and it's gone extremely well.
Amazing. It's crazy. So when you're 19 and you think, all right, I'm gonna do something by 30, that seems like eons away, and 30 seems so freaking old. How old are you now?
34.
Yeah. So you're far into it. But the other thing that's crazy to me is most people are like, all right, I'm gonna start this thing because nobody else does it right. Everybody else sucks. I've got a shitty boss, shitty creative director, whatever. They go out and they're like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. And they're usually, I'm a generalist. I'll do anything for anybody to keep the lights on. And then over time, they like hone it down and niche it into these verticals or these services or just a Webflow shop or like whatever. You from the door were like, this is a thing I'm passionate about. I see this is where the money is. Like, talk more about like starting from the niche because there's a lot of fear behind that. You're going all in, all eggs in a singular, you know, basket, so to speak. Like,
Yeah,
how'd you walk through that?
yeah, I think, going back to when I was 19 and I said that, and it's funny, the first person I ever said that to was Jackie, and she vividly remembers that because she's probably was like, "What the hell is this young kid I'm dating talking about?" But for me, my whole thesis around that was I realized, I was always on sports teams, captain of teams, and just realized I was a decent designer. I'm pretty okay. I can hold my own, but when you go to SCAD and you see some of these other guys and girls out there doing things, you're just like, wow, there's way better talent. What I'm really good at is people and bringing people together and creating great outcomes. And so I saw that really early on and was like, that's what I want to do. And I will be honest, when we first started Dean and Co. for the first 2 years, we were probably 75% commercial real estate, 25% let's leave the door open and see what happens. And so I think you get tricked when you're a little bit younger and you're like, "Hey, we could do creative for whatever industry." We tried
Mhm.
CPG and realized that's unbelievably difficult. Not a lot of founders have that much money. It's all coming from backing anyways. Really tough to break into. We tried to get into the cannabis industry. We actually know the rapper Exhibit, and so we tried to do some work with them. We did work for the band Humphreys McGee for a little bit of time, and so like we tried our hand at those things, but when we started the agency, Jackie and I in our business plan put down after the end of that 2 years, we need to really see where's the bulk of our business coming from? What decision do we need to make? So we had some fun early on. And then when I looked at my pipeline of any clients that I'm trying to talk to, every single one of them under the list of industry type was commercial real estate. And so once we had that come to
Mm.
Jesus like realization moment, I was like, look, our entire pipeline is commercial real estate. That's my entire network. I'm the one doing business development. We need to go full force at this and be the best at it possible. And so the last 2 years, we've just fully niched down into this industry. And, we call it the built environment or commercial real estate. And it's the only thing that we do and want to do. And that's kind of how we've built things and where it's transpired to.
Yeah. I love that, man. It's rare that you get that early on as you guys are 5 years in. It's also rare that you get people that are all in on a singular vertical because, again, there's a safety net. Like even Valerians talks about like choose three and like have them somewhat adjacent. He talks about like the three-legged stool. Often said I believe in a four-legged stool because if one of those verticals falls out, you've got still three, legs. Your stool is still kind of stable. But, like, you're all in on it, and you've not looked back, and what so you become experts in the industry, you become known in the industry, you go to the events, you're on the boards, you're in the associations, urban land industry, like, all these things where people get to know you as a resource, as somebody who, "Here's what I do to move the industry forward," and so you're not watered down by, like, "Oh, yeah, we're also in CPG," or, like, music or, entertainment or in these other industries. And again, man, it's rare, and I acknowledge and commend your courage to like be all in on that because that 25% that you left the door open, like that's kind of like doing a side hustle with a full time job,
Totally.
right? When you're doing a side hustle with a full time job, it's always going to be a side hustle until you go all in and you quit the job and you're like, I'm all in on this thing. Here we are, Dean and Co. So I love it.
Yeah, and I think, as a small agency and young entrepreneur, I think we social media and you can look around, everyone's killing it, right? And doing all the fun
Mm.
stuff. And I think the biggest thing that people need to always realize is you have to be extremely disciplined with yourself and not chase the dragon. And so we were kind of chasing the dragon early on and then realized, that's not how you grow a business. That's not the discipline that we need. And I think that's where we kind of left the door open for some fun, especially, Jackie coming out of some of her situations. It was like, we need a little breather. But now we're focusing on building a business. We've got people to pay, we've got payroll, and that takes discipline to really
Mhm.
understand what that truly means. And what commercial real estate, I don't, a lot of people I don't know if they think about it and geek out about it the way that I do, nor do I think they need to. But we always say that we're vertically integrated, but we're horizontally differentiated. And what I mean by that is commercial real estate is one industry, but we get to play ball in bars, restaurants, food halls,
Mhm.
markets, multifamily. We get to do big mixed use developments, hopefully a hotel one day. We get master plan communities. So you are in one industry, but you get to play across the playing field on so many different things. And as long as for
Yeah.
us, one of the biggest things we've always said, and this is why I like the niche aspect, and all my friends and colleagues are developers. I love learning from developers. I think they're some of the most risky people out there that are absolutely just going for it, which I could talk about that a little bit later. But for me getting so far into this and for us niching down into it, I think, it goes back to what you said as well around you have empathy for your clients and you get to learn what they're dealing with internally. And I think a lot of those things kind of transpired into us just really loving this type of space and what we're doing. And then ultimately, we get to go to these places and see people being there. And I don't think there's any greater feeling than watching something get built from the ground up and then watching people inhabit it and smile and, high five and hug when their friends show up. It's just really a beautiful thing.
I used to love, we'd put up billboards and we'd like pull around the side of the road and like take pictures in front of billboards. Or if we did packaging design, we'd see the package in the store and be like, oh my God, we did that. But branding like a 3D environment, like an institution or, a gathering space or community. I mean, that's got to be really gratifying to see that like come to life, see logos get hung up on buildings, things like that. That's got to be really exciting for you and your team.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't see, I do think, and I'll be vulnerable here, that we need to do a better job of expressing this. But what a lot of people don't see either is before a development even happens, we call it pre-development, and there's a lot of decision making that takes place around the size of spaces, the type of spaces. How are we going to lay this out for the actual flow of the user experience when somebody's on site and experiencing this thing? That's a lot of the work that we bring to the table that isn't the ultimate brand that you see on a website or a case study. So that's kind of the work that really gets me going is getting in a room with architects and landscape architects and urban planners and whoever it might be. And you're literally a part of the team thinking about it through the creative lens of the end user, but you're also
Mm.
adding value to the process of the actual development. And I think it takes a lot of the background that I have where, I worked within a retail brokerage. I've been in those rooms. I'm at the developer table on a lot of developments. And so it is kind of a unique skill, but when you get to be in that part of it, I always say like the branding's going to happen. The logo is
Yeah.
going to develop, the team's going to bring it to life, but you really have to define what that's going to be, feel like, etc. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing for me in the entire process is like, what is this thing really going to be?
Do you have people on your team that are joining you at those tables, or are you still kind of the lone wolf out hunting and networking and things like that?
Great question. Yeah. So we now are at a point where we've grown the team. I've done a lot of education internally. So Zane Cassidy is our creative director. He's at that table with us. Jackie's at the table. Adeline Eden is newer on our team as a project manager and client success. So that's starting to evolve, and we're starting to get to a place where we can kind of spread the team out a little bit. But us being boutique, and I think a lot of clients wanting me in the room, I'm still very much involved in the strategy portion of it. But we, like I said, over the last 5 years, we've put a ton of work into educating the team on this very unique space, and we're starting to see the fruits of that labor now.
You have to. I mean, if you're experts in this industry, your team's got to know it inside and out. They don't need to know the size rivets that are holding the girders together, inside whatever, the facade of the building, but they need to understand like what is this space supposed to make people feel? How are the materials going to impact how people feel on a cloudy day versus, like all that shit. They've got to know because you guys are the experts.
Yeah.
So that's the value that you guys bring to the table, and that's how you go upstream and say, this is why we charge whatever $1 million for this thing because we are deeply ingrained as experts. So yeah, you've got to have that deep institutional knowledge within your team.
Yeah, and one of the points that I was trying to make a little bit earlier that you're bringing up now is I think a lot of times marketing and branding teams, especially in the industry that we work in, the traditional guard just sees you as a vendor and you get called a vendor. And my hair is standing up on my arm saying vendor. I just really dislike it because it just feels like you're a tool that just is doing something that like has to check off a box. I really just don't like it. And so we have built a process where we really do call ourselves a development partner that's no different than an architect or anybody that's going to be at the table in that capacity. And so we have been educating the market on that thinking. We have found our kind of ideal client profile that understands the way we think. And we've also built processes where we act as a facilitator to bring all those teams together at the table. And ultimately, that hasn't happened in the commercial real estate side of things. It happens in master plan communities. They do that a lot, but it hasn't happened as much in commercial real estate. So for me, the biggest thing for Dean and Co. and how we set up our thesis is, are we adding value? Yes or no? And are we being a partner to you? Yes or no? And if both of those things are yes, it's amazing. And if one of them are no, we really need to evaluate the relationship.
I think it's something that most agencies like idealize or strive for. Like, oh, we don't want to just be a vendor, we want to be a partner. And it's like it's almost cliche. Y'all are one of the agencies that I see actually doing it. There are a lot that do it. There are a lot that think they do it and don't do it. And then there are a lot that it's not even on their radar on how to do it. But I'll call you onto the mat because you talk about like your ultimate mission is to work with great clients and be able to give your employees a great place to work. And all of that is subjective. But I know it's tied to like some serious core values that you and Jackie established at the onset. So kind of talk what does great mean to you guys? How do you do like value driven hiring and vetting of clients and things like that?
Yeah, I love this topic. So yeah, our kind of biggest tagline is do good work with good people, and that's both internal and external. And again, kind of going back to I watched Jackie at the big ad agencies, and I just couldn't believe that people get treated the way that they do.
Mhm.
One of my friends is the global creative director for David and Goliath, and I used to freelance on projects with him and we'd be working at 2 a.m. and he's like, I'm sleeping on the couch behind me and I've got work at 6 a.m. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, there has to be a better way. And I understand that some agencies that happens, but what we wanted to do is create a place where that didn't happen. And so for us, we've structured our agency with one of our biggest values is transparency and candor. And so I'll give an example of this. 2 weeks ago, we had a client that 2 weeks in a row basically had really big 5 p.m. kind of deadlines. I need this, pushing, et cetera, et cetera. And we had over delivered by our timelines and all of these things. And so the team brought it up. And then following Monday, when we had a call with the client, I was on the call and basically said, hey, look, this isn't going to work for a long period of time. We've done it the last 2 weeks, but it's just not sustainable to keep working like this. And there is a better way. So what can we do to implement some processes to make sure that, you're getting the information from us, we're getting the information from you, we have coordination, yada, yada, yada. And it's been fixed ever since. And so for us, it's really looking at clients that value what we do and don't think of it as something that just has to happen for their projects. There's a very big difference. And in commercial real estate, there's a lot of people that don't get what we do, and there's a lot of people that
Hmm.
do, and it's getting better. So for us, it's really just trying to look for our ideal client of, are you doing a development that is interesting? Is it just by the pro forma, meaning there's no budget to do anything else? It is what it is. And trying to understand, do they value the work that we do and what we bring to the table? And so that's sort of our high level criteria. And then internally, I think the biggest thing that we've really found is just everybody being a leader and everybody being a team player. For us, I've seen a lot of CEOs that kind of micromanage everybody from the top down. And for me, I have that team mentality where I'm like, look, we hired you for a reason. You're a great person. You're extremely smart. I have to let you come into your own as well. And so we give a lot of responsibility really early on to our team. But I think that we've seen progression across the board in every single role of our team. Like the growth that we've seen is just incredible because people aren't afraid to make decisions or try new things or say something in a meeting that they're really scared about. And so I think for us, externally and internally, those are the types of things that we really look for. And if you hit it on the head, you really can create a successful work-life balance. You can have really great clients and do really great work all at the same time.
Dude, I love that. And again, so many people strive for it. Very few people achieve it. It's not a summit like a place where you arrive. It's an ongoing thing where you're constantly needing to rebalance the scales and whether it's with the right clients, the right team members, work-life balance. Talk about like when you are getting to know, like courting a potential client, what are some of those flags or like identifiers that you use to see, do they value what we do? Are they going to let us have a seat at the table? Are they good people doing good work? Like all these things. How do evaluate?
There's a super clear way for us to evaluate those things. And the first one is there and look, this is an industry of business and making money. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that doesn't take place. So for us, one of my really good friends who's a developer investor, I know for a fact and he knows for a fact that we're never going to do a project together. And that's okay because all he cares about is buying a property, adding value to it and selling it in 5 years for as much as possible. So that immediately right there is a good friend that I talk to every single month, but we know that we're never going to work together because he does not value what we do and
Yeah.
it's not needed in his space. And so that's totally fine. I think that's an example of some of the developers and investors that are out there in this space, which is completely acceptable. Everybody's got a business and needs to make money. So I think that's an example of how we can immediately qualify somebody is what are your goals for the investment? How long do you plan on holding that investment? Who are your partners and what are their initiatives with the investment? So, kind of getting some more information on that. And then ultimately figuring out, do they see us as that vendor or partner? So, I think that's a lot of the conversation too is are we going to be able to meet with the decision makers and stakeholders? Or do we have to meet with your project manager or somebody, which is
All right.
fine, but we need to be at the decision making table. So I think those are some initial kind of like criterias for us around how we can immediately see who they are, what they're doing, and what their goals are. And then we can say if that's the right client for us or not. Luckily, we're still small enough where we can make those decisions.
Have you fired clients yet?
Yeah. Jackie and I,
Or
2 months
bad?
into Dean and Co., had an opportunity for a $15,000 a month retainer. And the CEO on the other side I just got the heebie-jeebies from, had a foundation that was his personal foundation type of thing, and we
Hmm.
immediately were just like, "This is not gonna work." So, 2 months in, we immediately started making those decisions where that could have been life-changing 2 months in. I mean, 15 grand a month, that's an entirely different agency right off the bat. So, yeah, I mean, for us, we've let clients go. We've said no to clients, and we'll continue to do that into the foreseeable future because, again, you know, it's just gotta be right. I think
Yeah.
life's too short and we live in too chaotic of a world to work with people that drive us nuts and vice versa. I mean, if someone thinks that about us, that's totally fine too. So I just think that we live in a world where everyone should try to enjoy what they're doing as much as possible.
Oh, preach that, man. 1,000% yes. I'm fully on with you, man. It's okay to fire clients. I think it's imperative. Like, fire a client once a year. Like, find the oddball that doesn't fit into the niche. Find the one that's not paying you enough. You've gone upstream. Every year you should be going upstream. And so, who's the little fish? Get rid of them. Pass them off. I think it's a muscle that people need to continue to exercise and identify mismatch of values, and just kind of continue to sharpen the stones.
Yeah, and I think one of the hardest conversations that agency owners have and there's a lot of designers that are like I'm starting my own studio and I'm like what does that actually mean when it's just you doing the design work or maybe farming it out. So I do think the most difficult conversation is business and dollars and contract and those things can muddle the creativity of a project or whatever you're working on. But for us, we have some smaller clients that we ultimately had to say as we've grown, like, I don't think we're the right fit anymore, but here are 4 referrals for you that can do
Yep.
exactly what we do. They will take care of you. And so I've always done that to make sure it's not just a see you later, it's see you later, but here's your path forward with a team that can support your efforts. And then the other thing that we've done is just have really candid conversations with long-term clients that started really small with us from day one and said, "Hey, look, I don't think you're tapping into the full value of our agency. we are more expensive now. Here's our minimum monthly retainer, but here's what we're going to do for your business. Give us 6 months to a year. Let's see how the relationship goes. And if you're happy and satisfied, then we'll continue on and it's all good. But if you're not, you're open to leave and I'll give you those referrals. And so far, we've done that to probably 5 to 10 clients that are still with us today. And
Mhm.
we've done exceptional things for them. So it's a tough conversation to go back to a client that's not been paying a lot and say, hey,
Yep.
we're $50 more an hour than we were before. And we also need 10 more hours a month to be able to fulfill. Not easy, but when you know that your team can back it up and you do back it up, I think that's where you start to see a lot of those tough conversations really coming to life. And you're like, oh yeah, I've built something that's really adding value to someone's business.
When you're able to show the track record, it speaks for what you're going to do in the future. And so you've got the ammunition to be able to say, hey, we've been doing this for you. This is a legacy service, a legacy rate. Moving forward, it's going to be this. And it takes courage to have those conversations. My friend Elise Bennon, she's also an agency coach for solopreneurs, and she always calls like the money conversation and like frames it as this big monumental things. And because in our mind it is, but you talk about candor as one of your like core values, and if you speak frankly about this is what it's going to cost, this is what we're going to deliver, this is the results you can expect to get. Here's how we lead the relationship, like account management style. Everybody wins because they know from the door that's not a good fit. We can't, we can't afford that investment, or we want to be in charge or whatever the thing is. And if they say no or they hesitate, you can be like, all right, cool, you're not the one. And if you're not the one, we're going to leave the door open for the right one to come in. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. And it truly, I hope this doesn't sound so cliche, but it really is true where my conversations that I have to have that are the tough ones because I'm the CEO working directly with clients and I'm running accounts right now and things like that. That conversation becomes so much easier when I know that my team is going to over deliver every
yeah,
single time. And so that's something that I talk to our team about all the time is like, we don't miss, at least we shouldn't miss. Sometimes things happen and it is what it is. But the goal is don't miss, over, deliver on everything. And if we do that and we hold up our end of the bargain, then we can go to sleep at night knowing that. And it also makes tougher conversations easier because, we've had those tough money conversations. And for us, I think the latest we ever go on payments with clients is 60 days, which I think is probably unheard of with a lot of agencies
hmm
working with a lot of clients. But most of our clients pay us within 30 days, if not the day of they get something. And again, that becomes a lot easier to request payment when it's like, we delivered that, 45 days ago. We were also 5 days ahead of schedule or whatever it is. It really starts to make those conversations a lot easier when you're holding up your end of the bargain.
Love it. Yeah. Listen, I love what you guys are building. Huge fan of Dean and Co. The culture you've established, the priority on work-life balance, getting out in the mountains. Like you guys moved to the mountains to spend time there with your family and the kids, and that's just freaking. You guys are rocking it, and I'm super proud of you guys. I want to wrap up with a couple random rapid fire questions, unless you've got like something you want to tie a bow around it with.
No, no,
All right. What is something that you can't get enough of these days? You're binging a book, a show, a podcast, an activity.
I set out to read 12 books this year. I'm on my 11th book. So reading has been massive for me this year. And the book that I've read, which I'm going to read again, is Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog. I
Yeah.
can't get enough of that. And I think about it almost every day for some odd reason.
Love it. Are you all in on business books, fiction, spiritual, nonfiction? Like, what's the genre?
80% business, 20% other books about personal life. So Phil Knight's book, and then right now, a lead singer of the metal band Lamb of God wrote another book, and I'm reading his right now.
Sweet. Dave Grohl's book is pretty awesome. I listened to that last year. His voice is just butter to me, so I had to listen to it. What is a gadget that you have recently integrated into your life, not AI, that you look back and you're like, how the hell did I live without this thing?
Oh my gosh, I'm probably the least gadgety person out there. Yeah, I've got nothing for you on that one, I don't think.
Yeah.
I
All
think
right.
the only one that I can probably say is, our flat top grill that we bought when we redid our backyard, and we cooked probably 5 nights out of 7 on that thing.
Like a Blackstone kind of thing.
Yeah, Blackstone,
Is
but
that
a
what they
cheaper
call it? Yeah.
version. It's just a
Yeah, yeah,
hot
yeah.
it's a hot piece of metal.
Dig it. All right, and then finally, and I know you do a lot of work in the give back space with SCAD and students and upcoming students. So, 34-year-old Matt telling something to 19-year-old Matt. What would have been invaluable to have heard?
Meet even more people from different disciplines and majors while being at SCAD. Every single student that I mentor or I have conversations with, which by the way, if anyone listens to this, I'm an open book. I will share my time with anybody. Please reach out. One of the biggest things that I tell every single student at SCAD is do not just go to your major building and call it an end of the day. Go to every single other major building, talk to as many people as possible. You don't know where people are going to end up in this world and in this life. And I guarantee you'll make connections 10, 15 years down the line of somebody
Yep.
doing something, and that's proven true in my life. It continues to do so. So I think for me is like network from your first day as a freshman, start networking.
Love it. My friend, I'm super grateful for you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I cannot wait to get on the mountain with you very, very soon.
Please come out this winter. Thank you very much for having me.
You got it, brother.
Awesome.